Morning. It's December. It's our Christmas meeting, which is awesome, really. Oh, Ken's got his Christmas hat on already. You win. Excellent. We've got an interesting agenda for you this morning. We've got Sarah from Solent LEP that's going to talk to you about the virtual work experience project that we are kicking off in March, I think. Is that right, Sarah? No, not March. No, anyway, I'll not steal her thunder. She'll tell you all the details later. We've also got Mark Hamson from the Department for International Trade and our very own James Ford from Solent LEP that are going to talk to you about Brexit, EU transition. I'm not sure what the latest buzzwords are for that. We'll check that one out apart from anything else. And James is going to talk about the different levels of support, the different types of support that are available for businesses within Solent LEP. We've got some general updates for you, and that's it really. I don't think there'll be any time for carol singing, but we'll see how we get on. So James, you were going to do the LEP updates for us, the sort of the funding, etc. If that's okay.
Yeah. So update on the ERDF fund, which some of you may or may not be aware. So round 2 has now closed. We're in the process of assessing all of the applications, and it looks like that Portsmouth City Council, our accountable body, who are doing the sort of due diligence side and final assessments, that will be going to our investment panel the early part of January.
Oh, it's frozen. Just for me or for anybody else?
For us too.
Yeah, I think James is frozen.
Funding, you may be aware that
Yeah, we lost you there a little bit.
Can you hear me again, Lorna?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Did you hear all of that, or do you want me to start again?
We heard you get as far as the team at Portsmouth that have to do the sort of auditing and final checking of the claims.
Yeah. Okay. So the ERDF, so Portsmouth City Council, our accountable body, will be undertaking their due diligence. We'll be then presenting all of the applications and those that have been approved to our investment panel, our BSIP panel. The update that I've got is looks like notifications will then go out to businesses in the early part of or the first week of January for the round 2 applications. Other funding updates, we do still have our rural funds, New Forest Rural Fund and Isle of Wight Rural Fund are still available and taking applications, as is our the Solent LEP Crowd Fund as well.
Okay, that's super. Thank you. Any questions for James on any of those funding options or anything you wanted to ask him about that for anybody?
Is there somewhere on the web that we can go and look at progress on this stuff? Are you publishing any of this?
What type of progress are you referring to?
Just a sort of outline of what's going on would be interesting.
Sorts of things that are being funded, do you mean?
Yes.
I don't think the individual crowdfunder applications have been published on our website. However, the link that if you're interested, what you could do, the crowdfunding page, for example, that we have, there is a link to show all of the projects that have been funded. However, that does sit on the actual crowdfunder page, so you can go through and you can see the types of businesses. I know I certainly use that when talking to businesses trying to promote that fund, showing examples and the sort of diverse nature of the businesses that have applied and that have been successful. And you can also see those that are trying to raise funds at the time as well. With the ERDF fund, that has been published through our BSIP minutes. So if you wanted to see and look at the types of businesses and those businesses that have been funded, that will be for our investment panels meeting minutes that are available on the website as well. So we can signpost, and perhaps Will or Lorna might be able to do a follow-up, and we'd quite happily share that link with you all if that's of interest.
That would be really interesting. There are so many good stories about that for one reason or another. I mean, I know the load is really hard to keep to keep everyone up to date. But these are really interesting and significant stories.
Yeah, the larger projects from the Getting Building Fund that you may have had an update on previously, they tend there tends to be a bit more sort of press around them. I know the investment around ABP and the port and the cruise terminal was in the press, and in the media as well. So there are some individual stories and articles around them sort of larger projects, which again, we would certainly welcome people sharing through your channels to promote. There may not be live funds at present to apply for, but something that we are quite keen. So in terms of the Growth Hub and the business support, is very much about building a pipeline of projects. So as funding becomes available from government, that if we are able to put a call out for any type of funding, that we have a bit of a pipeline that we can go back to and encourage people to apply for that fund. So we're always interested to hear, and I suppose this could be a call to a call to action to those on the call, that if you or clients or people you know that have capital projects that they're looking for investment for, is please do get in touch. We'd be interested to hear and gather details on them projects, so that when funding does become available, we can reach out directly to you, and there may be an opportunity for you to apply.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Bill, were you putting your hand up? No. No. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, without further ado, I think we'll move on to the main theme for today. We've just got normally we'll have two different speakers that sort of complement each other. We have got two speakers today, but it's on that one single subject, which is quite big and at the forefront of everyone's minds, I'm sure. So if I can hand over to Mark, and he'd like to take control of the screen. I believe you've got a presentation for us, Mark.
I have, Lorna. Thanks very much. Morning, everybody. Let me see if I can work out the technicalities of this. Spent lots of time on Teams, not so much time on Zoom. So, but hopefully.
I hate this bit, Mark, when I'm doing it. It just feels like the greatest jeopardy, doesn't it? You're under that much stress. Yeah. Here we go.
Well, hopefully that's worked.
Yeah.
There we are. So thank you, Lorna. Morning, everybody. Happy Christmas, season's greetings. Mark Hamson here, Department for International Trade. I'm an international trade advisor in the Southeast regional team, Southeast Trade team. So we're the customer-facing end of DIT. So we work with companies very closely, hand in hand, on a pretty much daily basis, supporting with various DIT programs that are running. But also to answer questions, problems that arise around anything from, well, many different things this year, from coronavirus to EU transition to my product is stuck to how do I label to find me an agent. Obviously, lots going on in terms of EU transition at the moment. And please bear with me, I'm not a border control expert, I'm not a VAT expert, not an inward processing relief expert, but what I'm really hoping to try and do today is to just point you in the right direction as to where the support is and where the help is, for you to get answers to questions you might have. My screen seems to have frozen, which isn't helpful. Here we go. Yeah, so try and help you identify where the answers are, where they exist, help you to identify the actions you need to take in advance of whatever comes next. And talking of questions that we receive, I mean, we receive very general questions on an almost daily basis, and you know, large numbers of them across the team. Many of them are quite general, quite easy to just pinpoint and signpost and say, well, you know, the preparation looks like this, even though that doesn't give you an actual outcome or answer. But this is the preparation you need to take. Now, at the same time, there are some very, very specific questions that we receive that we literally cannot answer because I think of it as a QI reference, and that is that literally nobody knows right now, but hopefully we will, in the coming days. So new rules, we have left, as the phraseology goes, and transitioning now to a new agreement. Significant differences to the way we operate and with the EU. And certainly, I think one of the key differences will be, I speak to a number of companies that have only ever sold to the EU. So I've never had to complete some of the technicalities and paperwork that they might have had to deal with outside. And so that, for some people, is going to be a challenge and something to think about, in terms of, what is that transaction now going to cost? Do you have the resource, etc.? So time, it says here now is the time to start thinking about the actions. I think the time to think about it was much earlier, but better late than never, I guess. Trade agreements, so some continuity, the good news out there. I think 58 trade agreements and continuity agreements have been signed as of yesterday. The 58th was Mexico, I think. Yesterday, I think it was embargo till about 3:30 yesterday afternoon. So progress there, which should make it easier externally to the EU, or not make it any harder, let's put it that way, any more challenging. So let's see what happens with the EU with the ongoing discussions. Number of changes I've touched on, the way you move goods around, how you provide services, the issues around data, and indeed the immigration status of your workforce and new recruitments. Lots of help available. gov.uk/transition is the main website. Don't worry about writing these down. I've got a link at the end, and I understand we're going to share those links out after the call. So first place to take a look at, to check actions that are needed, there's a tool on gov.uk/transition to which you can go and just answer a number of questions about your business and the way you operate and what you're trying to do. Covering, as I say, movement of goods, covering data, covering investment, recruitment, and you can run through that and it will give you a checklist. Really, so it comes out quite well in terms of issues that you need to stop and have a think about, and quite likely take some action. But the format as a checklist, hopefully no stone unturned in that respect. So I recommend take a look at that if you haven't already. Items that are going to change, things that are going to change. We've touched on some of these. Trade, importing and exporting, so customs, taxes, duties, import declarations, all items to think about. It may become that actually it becomes more important to use a customs intermediary, a freight forwarder, whereas at the moment you may be doing these matters, taking care of these matters for yourself into European markets. Obviously, changes to certification, labelling, regulation, materials, etc. needs consideration, needs looking at. Staff, hiring both here and outside. Services, it's not all about the movement of goods. Obviously, a lot of the UK's exports is services based, and indeed the use of data and the transfer of personal data across borders. So I don't intend to go through this, but some staged approaches about around import. Sorry, I've got lots of raised hands, etc. Mark Pembleton, did you want to say something right now, or wait to the end? Or
I'll wait till the end, Mark. It's fine. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. So changes coming in stages for goods, as you can see. I don't propose to go into that particularly in depth at the moment. Some of the basics, and probably the one that you've heard more of than anything is EORI. Seems, that's the non-stop, but without that, everybody's going to struggle. There are challenges around how you operate, how you import. We've had questions around, power of attorney for your customs intermediary, to avoid you having to have an EU EORI number in addition to your GB EORI number. So lots and lots of questions about that. as I mentioned, customs intermediaries, perhaps it becomes much more important at an individual level for individual companies. Obviously, import and export licenses may change in status. VAT, lots of the VAT questions, I'm afraid, can't be answered currently. We've had quite a number of discussions with HMRC on particular items, and of course the challenge, you're trying to secure an order now, maybe for a product that's not delivered till next year, and you're delivering it DDP, DAP. What happens to the VAT if that changes, if a duty becomes payable at that time that isn't currently in place, making it very, very hard for customers that I'm dealing with, certainly. Northern Ireland, this is not a subject I know a great deal about. The Trader Support Service is there and will guide you through the protocol of how to move your goods backwards and forward to Northern Ireland. As you can see lots of links there for you to head for. Goods on the market, obviously CE marking, and again, I won't go into this in detail. The slides are available later, but just so you're aware that changes, there is a new approach versus the old approach. Think about how non-harmonised goods are working, etc. And obviously special rules for some goods, things like explosives and medical products, etc. So keep an eye on that. Covered that really. Hiring staff is interesting. Free movement ends obviously from the 1st of January. And there's a new points-based immigration system, and it introduces salary and language requirements that may impact your ability to hire from the EU depending on the level of staff that you're recruiting. You will, however, be able to employ skilled workers from around the globe. One of the most important things about if you're going to be recruiting from the EU, you will need a licensed. You will need, to become a licensed sponsor through the skilled worker route. You should indeed register now for that. It's about an 8-week process. So that's one. If you do regularly recruit from outside the UK, that you need to get onto, I'd say sooner rather than later. EU citizens already in the UK, obviously the new system does not apply if they were employed here in the UK before 31st of December, although there was a requirement or there is a requirement to apply to the settlement scheme before 30th of June 2021. Services, you need to there are changes in place. For example, things like recognised professional qualifications may not necessarily, that may not continue. So you need to have a look at that. If you travel regularly, that's something you need to think about. And if you own, manage, or a director of a company in the EU, that indeed is going to be face challenges. There are issues that you'll need to address around that for things to continue. Move past that. Personal data is very important. There is an established method in which the EU deals with data under what's called data adequacy assessment, and there's an assessment underway of the way the UK addresses this. If we're not assessed to be up to speed on that, then obviously there are steps that will need to be taken again prior to 1st of January 21. So there is a lead time on that one. But one hopes obviously that under the withdrawal agreement that adequacy assessment will prove positive in our favour. But the sort of data you need to think about if you're moving data to and from the EU, you need to map your data flows and have in place alternative transfer mechanisms that comply with any new data. Have a look at the personal data you hold, check that is all compliant. And obviously there are contractual ways that you can deal with this moving forward. more information on the transition period and on coronavirus support available at these QR codes, and some useful links. Some of the ones to point out here or to add, the second major bullet point, the live and recorded sector specific webinars, very good indeed. There's a range, I think, of about 18 or 20 webinars there that have been recorded, covering the whole gamut of issues that have been raised, everything from services to recruitment to HR to data, but also some sector specific work in there, some sector specific webinars, lots in manufacturing and engineering, not anything, I'm afraid, specifically in maritime, sorry to say. And the business readiness transition bulletin is worth signing up to, just to keep on top of what's happening on a weekly basis and the changes there. Potentially we only get 2 more copies of that, I suppose. And that's me for now. So thanks for listening to that. I hope it was useful. And let me see if I can return to the room, so to speak. There we are. Fabulous.
Fantastic, thank you. James, do you want to talk a bit about what Solent LEP have got available in support options? And I think there's lots of questions coming through. I suspect we could have been here all morning talking about this, and some of them are quite specific. So I think we'll try and answer some of those questions this morning, but there's some of them that are going to need a bit more research. So if you've got questions and we're able to answer that this morning, we will. Otherwise, put them into the chat function and we'll get someone from the Growth Hub to make contact with you after the meeting on more specific queries, if that's okay with everybody.
Lorna, is it okay if I just make one quick point?
Yes,
Mark,
of course.
yeah, is that all right?
Yeah,
it's just to say that, just for all the businesses out there, we have got Portico, which is our shipping company. It's a Portsmouth City Council shipping company called Portico, based at the port in Portsmouth. Now, it runs a local customs agency. So really, if any business needs help, as Mark's been saying, with that customs, with that kind of intermediary, then we've got a service there. We've taken on 10 extra people. Daphne Cumber is the manager there, so she's waiting for a call. Her number is 023 9285 1495. Email her at customs.agency@porticoshipping.com. They've got 30 years experience of doing this, and it's very cost effective because obviously as a council operation, we're trying to keep the cost down as low as possible. And it means you will be using a local business and locally employed people. So really encourage any business in the area to please use that local customs agency. Thanks, Lorna, and thanks, Mark.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. James, are you happy for me to hand over to you at that point?
Yes, no problem. I've kind of shared the screen in readiness. So just to sort of follow on from Mark, I just want to touch on what support is being made available locally across the Solent. LEPs were given some additional funding to support their businesses with what is now referred to, I think, as Brexit Transition. That name seems to have gone through many changes. So the screen that I've shared at the moment, so we've partnered with Newables, who actually deliver the Department for International Trade, the DIT trade support across the southeast of the UK. And we have made available to businesses some specific transition advisor support, so some one-to-one support. So essentially businesses will get up to 5 hours of advice and ongoing support, depending on what type of help that they need. So where Lorna was mentioning earlier that there's been a few questions come up in the chat, what we can do is we can start to refer those questions across to the advisors that will be available. This advice and support will be available as of Monday. The page on our website, as you can see here, I'm not going to read it and go through it, but we can send the link out afterwards. It's very much just to get some sort of headline information from the business, the type of inquiry, what type of support and help that perhaps you or your clients, depending on who you are, looking for. And then you will be contacted directly by one of the trade or transition advisors from Newables to offer that support. So we would certainly be welcome of any of those that can share that and start to push this message out. We will be doing some comms later this week, and I imagine this is very much going to ramp up in the new year. One thing what I would say, what will be available, bear in mind that it's Christmas and they will be on leave. We have made available a helpline that will be available between the 21st and the 4th of January, not counting sort of weekends and bank holiday days. But if businesses do want to get in contact, because there is obviously a lot going on, a lot of decisions being made, a lot of changes, businesses, you know, don't all stop and finish for Christmas. So that helpline will be made available. We will share that number. It will be available on the website as well. So if there are any particular questions that you as businesses may have during that period, please do use that number, pick the phone up, and you will be able to speak directly with a transition advisor. Just to add, that we do have some additional support as well in some different forms. We're working with BDO as well to offer some support around supply chain and contract management. We're just working on pulling the comms together and the sort of finalizing the package, but essentially, again, you will be able to get one-to-one support directly for them to sit with you, look at your contracts, your supply chain, and what that actually looks like. So we've tried to develop some packages of support that are available to everybody. This isn't just aimed at people that import and export. As Mark touched on, it links for people that might be transferring data, people that are employing people. So the impact is kind of far and wide. We will be undertaking some outreach activity as well. Newable will be doing some sort of proactive outreach. We will be doing some survey work as well. So we are very interested in you know, to hear from you as businesses and your networks about the types of challenges that you may be facing. Any advice and support, you know, we will be able to perhaps shape that provision as we go, depending on the agreement that's in place and what that looks like. So please do continue to sort of feed back in that intelligence, so we can help shape the provision to what you as businesses need.
We've got a couple of people with hands up, I think, James. Shall we start there? I can see, oh, I did see a hand up. Has someone just taken it down again? Maybe it was a mistake, or maybe someone was just waving at me. Always appreciated. Okay, Mark, you've said that there's a couple of those questions there. That's your cue for you all to wave. Yeah, no, never mind. Yay, lovely. Mark, you've said there's a couple of those questions that you feel able to answer here anyway. Do you want to start with those ones, and then we'll see where we go with the others? Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
No problem, Lorna. Simple one, Bill. Yes, EORI is free, so you can apply online. You need all your usual UTR numbers and gateway IDs and all that. You can apply also, you don't have to be VAT registered, so if it's a smaller business that isn't VAT registered, that's fine. You know, it's not an HMRC issue, it's a customs security number in effect. OII and MCA qualifications still be recognised in the EU. It's a very good question, Jeanette. I don't know the answer, but I'll look into it for you quite happily if you drop me a quick email. My expectation is yes, because of the more global impact of those qualifications, but it needs to be checked. And as back to specific questions, and forgive me, I was trying to find a note that I was sent from a client yesterday. selling maritime services. 10 questions, very specific, that were on that list. So it you know, there are complexities, but the answers are out there. So yeah, Jeanette, if you want to drop me a line, I'll follow up on that one. Was that it, Lorna? Are there any that I missed?
I think it is in the chat. Is there any other questions or any other comments or anything that people want to raise or add to the discussion? Ken? We can't hear
yeah,
you.
the question that I put in the chat was about this EORI number.
Yeah.
If you're only supplying services from the UK into Europe, it seems we don't need an EORI number. We don't need to make export declarations. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, as it stands, without seeing what happens with any agreement that either gets signed or indeed new trading rules, if an agreement isn't reached, then it's something I'd certainly keep an eye on, Ken. Probably worth going through that checker site, just to be sure, and sign up for the Brexit Transition thing as well. There's also there is an EORI help desk that might be worth a call. I'm thinking you're okay, but you know, as I say, I'm not an expert in all different elements of this. More a case of signposting you to where the final answers are.
Yeah, I went through the government site, and there's certainly lots of information there, and I've still got to trawl my way through selling services to individual countries, because there's a link for every single country. So I found all that stuff, and it's great that it's there. But yeah, services seems to be the sort of it's you have to dig a little deeper to find the bits about services. And there's a lot of services we as a maritime industry provide in the UK.
Yeah. And the issue I hear, the site is very good, the transition site. There is a lot of content there, but the number of people that say to me, well, I seem to get lots of web links from various people that I talk to, but I just want to talk to someone rather than have to, because some of the wording it isn't that clear, and I want to sense check it with someone else. So, you know, if that's the case, then clearly give us a shout, and we'll certainly do our best or point you in the direction of the right people.
Can I just add that to that as well, Ken? Please get in touch through the website link that I just shared as well. So the advisors will be available from Monday next week. So part of what they will be there is to help people sort of navigate that page as well. So as Mark said, some people that do want to just chat to somebody rather than it all just be online, that's what that service is there for. So please make the most of it as well.
Sam, you had your hand up briefly. Have you got a question? I can only,
no,
oh, there you are.
No, nothing from me.
All right, okay. Anybody else got a question that they would like to ask or a comment that they'd like to make about this? Jeanette, back to you. Hello again.
Okay, so what is the situation if you're actually training on a yacht and you take that yacht across to France, stay overnight in the water at the port or just outside, and then come back? Do you actually need some other type of paperwork to what they currently need, considering you will have students on that yacht in terms of a training facility?
Sorry, Jeanette, I don't know. This is one of the questions I'm looking into slightly differently, because this is for super yacht crew. So what happens with super yacht crew who are recruited here, but then, you know, obviously spend their time down in the Med, for example? How long can they be down there for? Are they recognised, or will they continue to be recognised as domiciled on the yacht? Again, I'm happy to follow it up. I don't know the actual answer, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think because there's concerns now, like, are we in EU waters as opposed to British waters, whereas before, you know, we shared the water, didn't we?
Yes.
And the last thing you want is, you know, people getting picked up. France, I looked at France, and France seems really strict in terms of what they're prepared to accept, which is just a concern. So some clarification around that would be really helpful.
Yeah, France is interesting. France has always been very strict, for example, in some other areas around things like carnets and movement of vessels in and out of French waters, and that sort of VAT or duty requirement based on how long the yacht's there and whether, you know, VAT payments have been taken elsewhere in EU. So yeah, always one of the strictest. So it's an interesting question. Again, happy to look at it. I did just send my email address to you, Jeanette. I'm conscious that I've said to a few people or mentioned a few times, please drop me a line, and haven't shared my email address. So I'll put that in the chat now.
Anything else from anybody?
Mark, you'll end up not having a Christmas at this rate. I think just to reiterate, I mean, that's a really great offer, Mark, and thank you for that. Sorry, it's Stu from Maritime UK, so Solent and Solent LEP here.
We can't really hear you, Stu. I think your microphone's
Sorry,
on your
microphone's
head.
on my head.
That's
Sorry.
lovely.
Thank you, Lorna. Yeah, sorry, Stu from Maritime UK, Solent and Solent LEP. Mark, sorry, I'm just saying thank you ever so much for that and the offer, and you're in danger of not having a Christmas. But just to reiterate James's point, there is a sort of access point through our Growth Hub, whereby you can fill in a sort of form online with your questions, and appreciate there will be increasing amounts of questions as you know, particularly once a deal or not is agreed, and we can make sure they're fielded to the appropriate experts, and get you that sort of dedicated response, and also, you know, the Growth Hub is there as a general advice as well, and we can direct you there. So just to reiterate that point, but great offer from you, Mark. Thank you very much appreciated.
No, pleasure.
Anything else from anyone, or shall we move on to the next thing on the agenda? Everyone happy with that? Okay. Sarah, can I hand over to you then? Give the floor to you. And Sarah is going to talk to us about virtual work experience.
Thank you, Lorna. Good morning, everybody. I didn't want to steal Lorna's thunder earlier. She was absolutely right insofar as saying the virtual work experience pilot that we're running was going to be run in March. That was up until last week. We had a conversation with Speakers for Schools, who we're collaborating with regard to the platform, and one of the stakeholder schools. So the goalposts have moved slightly, insofar as we're now looking at the first part of the summer term, so around May time. We will still stick with a 3-day approach, so the schools can top and tail it. So we're looking probably at a Tuesday, Thursday block within a week. Now, within that week, in that block, I should say, the students need to engage with employers, like a two-way interaction, quite significant insofar as they need to meet a variety of people within an organisation. There needs to be two-way interaction, so questions and answers. It may be that you provide an interview with an apprentice. It might be that you have a conversation with your chief exec. It might be that you, for example, provide a virtual tour opportunity. But also the students need to undertake a piece of work, whether that's a task or a project that you set them, but an element of they need to go away to do some work, but based on your organisation, and you provide feedback on that. Now, we are going to be working in collaboration with Speakers for Schools. So as I said, that's the platform that we will be using. And in order to develop a meaningful programme, so they will coach you and work with you to explain to you what we need, how we're going to run it, the platform that we're going to use. The platform we're actually going to use is Google Classrooms. So a lot of schools use that already. But kind of the break around the day, how we're running it around the school day, lunch breaks, so on and so forth, but what the conversation needs to be around and how we entail that. But in order to kind of give you that information, we're going to run a breakfast webinar. So it's basically an information webinar for employers on the 21st of January, between 8:30 and 10 o'clock. Now, there will be comms going out from the LEP, and we will send you the link with that. And if not, if you want a conversation prior to that, that's absolutely fine. Contact Lorna or myself directly. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you to give you a little bit more information. If you've got any concerns or you've got some ideas, that would be fantastic. But we will work with you to develop your programme and your offer. So that is very, very brief overview. I didn't want to take up any more of your time, but I just wanted to make sure you're aware. The goalposts are moving as far as dates. So we're looking at May, the first part of the summer term. And like I said, it will be a 3-day approach. We're looking at roughly 600 students now. We've kind of doubled our numbers. And what we're saying with regard to safeguarding, there won't be any less than 5 students in a classroom, virtual classroom as such, with you at any one time. More likely 10. If we can get 30 in a classroom, that would be fantastic. We can get some teamwork going. But again, we can talk this through with you. We've got lots and lots of ideas. And we've also, because we're working with Speakers for Schools, they're a national organisation. So they are working with some big organisations. And if we don't get enough of our local employers, which is obviously what we want to do, our key sectors, obviously Maritime, but they can bring in some other organisations. But we'll also get those that have already done the programme or something similar to talk about their experience and what they've done and how easy or what the hiccups have been maybe. And how we can move that forward. So it is a pilot with the expectation that, you know, we will roll it further. So, you know, there is trial and error, but if we can get anyone involved, I've already spoken to some of you in the sector, that would be great if we can get some more. But thank you.
I think if I could just add some context to that from a national perspective, if you like, with my other hat on for Maritime UK, what we are discovering and hearing from our schools and colleges and careers advisors and careers leaders is that whilst there is a desperate desire to continue to provide the employability strand of our young people's education, right now, as you all know, any of you that have got children who are at school or college, it's all quite chaotic out there, and it's really, really difficult for the careers advisors. And the government is still saying that careers and employability skills and learning is vital. Here's the cat. She always joins the meeting. Sorry about that. That whilst it's still as important as it always was as part of our young people's education, and clearly for employers and kind of the people route map for them, the people pipeline for them, it's really important that you're able to employ young people into your businesses who possess the right employability skills. The current climate means that traditional work experience is impossible. And what this awful pandemic has provided us with is the opportunity to really explore virtual work experience. And the government are backing that now through the Careers Enterprise Company as a viable alternative. It's never going to be as good as a young person having to get used to working with an employer on their site and having to turn up on time and be prepared and be wearing the right clothes and learn about office politics or warehouse politics or shoreside politics or banter, if you want to call it that, whatever. That's obviously the gold standard. But what we're all trying to do here is to make sure that the young people that are coming through those later stages of their education now are still getting the employability offer. So the virtual work experience, and I mean, Sarah's the expert, she knows much more than me, but we're looking at your involvement with a group of young people over 3 days. But that doesn't mean that you're going to have to be essentially in a Zoom meeting for 3 days solid. It's likely that those young people will be set project work, or they'll be set a research task, or they may be given the opportunity to join different meetings, to virtually join tours of different business functions within your organizations. I mean, in some ways, this really excites me because it is now possible, it is actually possible for a young person to do some virtual work experience in a high crane at a port. And health and safety, we'd never have made that. It's highly unlikely a 15-year-old would ever have been allowed up in one of those things if we were doing traditional work experience. So what we're looking for is organisations to make a commitment to work with a group of young people over 3 days, but you're not going to be stuck in a Zoom meeting 9 till 5 for 3 days running. We would want these young people to be set the project work so that they have to go away and do the research about your business. Maybe you're going to ask them to create an organisational plan, for example, an organisational structure. Perhaps you're going to ask them to go and do some research about which parts of your business have grown the most over the last 5 years. Perhaps they'll be given an option of half a dozen different people that they could book an appointment with to find out about their own career pathway and their own career journey. And it might be that that it's one department within your organisation that supports those young people, Or it would be even better if over the 3 days they moved around different departments. And then what I would really love to see is that these young people are encouraged to make some sort of presentation or report at the end about what they found out. The Careers Enterprise Company states very clearly that in order, they use this word meaningful when you are determining the quality of careers education. And meaningful, I think it's the worst word that they could have chosen, because it can be interpreted in any number of different ways. And I have always said, I would prefer we said memorable. Because if when you say to the young person at the end of the week, what did you find out about, I don't know, the Berth and Boat Company, for example, if that young person is able to say, well, they employ 100 people, they've got 6 different buildings, they've got 35 apprentices, their apprentices do this, that, or the other, most of them stay with the company at the end, they're really good because they give you a pay rise every year, or whatever. Whatever it is that is landing in the young person's head at the end of the week, what they remember, I think it's a far better word than meaningful. But anyway, that's just my particular take on that. So what we're really keen for is for our maritime businesses to really engage with this, because we know how crucial the sector is to the local economy. And we want our young people to have an opportunity to get excited about the sector, just as excited as I get, obviously. So that's kind of where we're coming from. So there will be support for you in terms of putting together your program, thinking about the different things that could be in it. There'll be support for you during the week. As Sarah said, you know, if 30 children all opted to find out about one particular business, that's absolutely wonderful. And we could, if it suits you, we could ask them to apply in advance, you know, to write a letter or to write an email to say, I would really like to come and join you for the week. If it was possible for them to have a kind of a mock interview during the week with someone, that would be terrific. If they're given the opportunity to join in bigger meetings, just to hear what a business meeting is like, also fantastic. But really, that's, from my point of view, from the Maritime UK nationally careers programme, that's what I would say we're trying to achieve. Sarah, I haven't just said the wrong thing, have I?
No, that's absolutely wonderful, Lorna. All of the above applies. So yes, absolutely.
So it would be fab if we could really make a concerted effort as a network to provide this. Sorry, Peter, you just popped your.
Yeah, so to endorse what you're saying, Lorna, and also Sarah's on about too about the meaningful versus memorable. A couple of years ago, I was a lecturer in Newbury College, so basically A-level equivalent, BTEC Business Studies. And you'd be surprised how much they don't understand the world of business because they've never been exposed to it. Why should they be? And I sent up my students for a week every year base, and they come back with stories like, God, Peter, they give you free coffee and biscuits in the office, and the owner has a cat and a dog there, and they all walk around in jeans and t-shirts. A really cool place to work. And I was going, yeah, I didn't expect that. I thought we were all stuffy in suits, and it was really good fun. And they opened their eyes totally. I said, well, that's the modern business world these days. Whatever you've been reading is wrong. And it's actually really important. And also, I would say, tend to be here on the call, I know what Sarah's trying to do with getting companies involved. If you're not too sure how you can help, just simply go in for half an hour and talk to students about your journey, where you've come from in your business, in your own personal career. That's all. That's easy to talk about for half an hour, probably an hour, quite frankly. And the students will not be exposed to this again. And it's amazing what the impact you have as a business person, just simply saying, here's how I started my career. I hadn't a clue what I wanted to do when I was 16. I left school early. I did this, I did that. And now look at me. I'm now an MD of a company with 15, 20 people, £2 million turnover. And the kids will think absolutely amazing. You're a major hero because you're telling the truth, and they like that. So yeah, I think what Sarah's doing is terrific. So keep doing it. It's really good. So I've seen myself as a lecturer in a college with business students, and the impact it has by talking to local businesses is massive. Please do not underestimate it. Even the small journey talk for half an hour is so important. If you spark one student's imagination, you've done your job for the day. Well done.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. I think if I could further endorse that, of course you can. We've talked about this before. Siobhan spoke about it. I don't know if it was at no, it's October, wasn't it, when we talked about careers programs and so on. So within the Solent LEP, local businesses can sign up to be enterprise advisors, where you are linked with a school, and you would do a period of support with the school and really help them to develop their careers program. Or you could even, with Maritime UK, you can sign up to be one of my industry ambassadors. And actually we're doing that with Inspiring the Future, which is an organisation that runs, and if you'll forgive the analogy, but it's a bit like a dating site in that there's a website where schools register, and we've got over 1,000 schools in the UK have registered for this careers support, and employers go on and register as guest speakers, if you like, or to support that programme. It is a voluntary thing, and then you're matched. And because we're doing this all virtually now, it used to be it was so important to have that geographical support, but now I did a session for a primary school in Bradford a couple of weeks ago. They were doing a what's my line kind of thing, because we can do this remotely. So there's all sorts of different ways you can do this, but in principle what we're looking for is for local businesses to say, can we help? We've got a question here. Yes, is virtual work experience possible for a tiny boat business which only has 5 employees in total? We maintain more and store boats. Succession planning is a concern for us. Absolutely, Sally. Absolutely. Now, I mean, we might flood you with 30 people, and that might be, you know, compared to your 5 employees, we wouldn't want to put you off. But I mean, I keep hearing one of my, oh, you've got me on my soapbox now. One of my things for the Maritime UK work that I do, I manage the careers programme for Maritime UK, is what I want is when a careers advisor or anyone in a college or a school environment that's providing information and guidance, or someone in a job centre or whatever, has a person sitting in front of them talking about carpentry and joinery. I want that person to say, well, do you want to work outdoors on a building site? Is that the sort of carpentry and joinery do you want? Are you looking at cabinet making? Do you want to fit kitchens? Or have you thought about boat building? And if I can get the national careers programme to the point where careers advisors are remembering to include our sector, and I know that we've got a shortage of the trades coming into the sector. So yes, absolutely, Sally. We can get in touch with you afterwards.
Can I just add to that, Lorna?
Yeah, sure.
Just to say, I think actually this is the whole gist of it, is actually the young people knowing what is on their doorstep, because a lot of these young people have no idea of the employers on their doorsteps, or exactly what Lorna was saying, you know, if I want to be a carpenter, that I can do this on a boat. You know, there's a big campaign within the NHS that you can match 350 jobs out in the world to the NHS, and I'm sure that's what Lorna is anticipating to do with the Maritime, because I'm sure you can do it, whether that's law, whether that's marketing, whether that's carpentry, you name it, you've got it. And for those young people to actually appreciate, you know, 3 miles down the road they've got an employer that actually can offer them a role that they're interested in, they have no idea about it. That's so important. And for the teachers as well, because you'll have teachers in the virtual classroom with them, so for them to hear it, they're hearing it from almost their peers, but also their influencers, and that's what's also important. So anything you can do would be much appreciated.
And I think actually that's a really important point. What we're not necessarily asking for is, although I would really like to do this with Serco, actually, work experience on the tugs, which anyone who's heard me talking before knows are a personal favourite. But I would really like us to harness those opportunities that just wouldn't have been possible with physical work experience in the past as well, and go for some really exciting things. And being out in a little tug or a workboat out in the harbour, how awesome would that be for work experience? Now, you wouldn't be on it, but someone else would be, and they would be filming, and you would be involved in a Zoom meeting, or that video would be something that you watch, obviously, later on in the week. And that other point about different business functions. So if we've got young people that are interested in law, but we can get them involved with a maritime legal practice, for example, it's fantastic, because I don't know that the colleges are necessarily providing that information. Personally, I've put a project out to the Gosport and Fareham Multi-Academy Trust. They're A-level business students. Peter, you'll like this one. They're doing a sort of a critical assessment of the careers pages on the Maritime UK website for me. I've asked them to do a to do a bit of market research for me, really. They're young people that are doing business. I want them crawling all over my careers pages and telling me that works, that doesn't, this was nearly impossible to find, why haven't you got any of this? Really like the virtual tours, they were amazing, or whatever, you know. And I've set this as a project. I've got a little job to do today, actually. I've got to record myself setting the project brief, but for A-level business classes are going to be getting all sorts of maritime information by exploring my website, which is a bit stealth bomber like, but I want those business students to be considering the sector. So that's not a complicated project to set anybody, and it's not something you necessarily would need to be involved with during the 3 days. It is something you'd need to think about in advance if you were setting up a project, but Sarah and the teachers at the schools and myself and the skills team at Solent LEP, we can help you with that. We just would like to see a really strong offer within maritime businesses as part of this trial. And as I say, if we can get 600 children involved in this in a week, that would be awesome, won't it? Anything else that anyone wanted to ask about virtual work experience? If you're interested in talking to us about it, if you could just say so in the chat, either privately or publicly to everybody, and then Sarah will export the chat and pass the details on to Sarah. And if it's that you're interested and you want to talk to someone about it back at base and then come back to us, please do. You know how to get in touch with Will or myself. And we've obviously got a good few months to run into this, but really important piece of work. Thank you, Sarah. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think the only thing that came into my head as you were talking, there were two things. In my previous role, I used to work at the University of Portsmouth and headed up outreach. And one of the comments that resonates with me is actually the kids saying they were wowed by the ability to access the resources and the equipment at the university. They would never be allowed to do that in school. So if we did have, you know, the facility to, as Lorna said, go into a crane or out on the water, for them to experience that would be absolutely phenomenal. And the other thing I thought about is actually having spoken to speakers for schools, it takes roughly 6 to 8 weeks lead-in time for us to kind of have that conversation, get the program together. So it's not a rush job. We want to get it right. We want to make sure it's right for you as employers, and also right for the students. So yes, happy to have those conversations. So thank you for the opportunity to come to the meeting.
Brilliant, thank you. Right, our Will has got a couple of updates for us. Are you there, Will?
I am indeed, I am. Hi everyone, just a couple of updates about what we're doing. So we have got, hopefully in 2021, website launching for Maritime UK Solent. Is currently working hard on developing it, and it will be hopefully going to board next year. So as part of that website, there will be opportunities for people to join the network. There will be the link there for people to sign up. Our network members, your website links will hopefully be as part of it. There will be maybe an opportunity to promote yourself. We're sort of looking into how we're going to do that, as well as resources such as our virtual careers fair, our the economic recovery plan for the sector, as well as all our newsletter archives will be on there. So hopefully we can share that with you in the new year. We've also got a survey that will be sent around hopefully later on today. It's just about the network and what we have to offer, and sort of getting your opinions to us so we can try and develop this network further. So if you can answer that when it gets sent around to you, it'll be much appreciated.
Excellent. Yeah, we're hoping that the website will get approved by the board in late in February. Is it middle of February?
Yeah, I think late February.
Yeah, okay. We're doing really well on time here. There may be time for carols after all. I'm only joking. I've got a couple of things as well for you. So for the January meeting, we're looking at eco subjects, really. We have got Eco Subsea coming in to talk to us about their robots that clean the bottom of boats and harvest all the organisms and creatures that grow on the hulls, and what happens to what they harvest and how that impacts on fuel efficiency for boats and ships and things, which anything to do with robots I just think is super cool. So I encourage you to come and hear about that. We're also, Portsmouth International Port are going to come and talk to us about the air quality monitoring that they're having to do now. So we thought that would be of interest to the group. And then in February, we want to do something a little bit different. So in normal times, when we first started talking about this, we talked about the network meetings being physical and essentially going on tour, and that maybe we would come to your premises and you could host it from your premises, and we could find out a bit about your business, move on and move around. Obviously, we started in August, September, October, November, December. So we're in our 5th meeting and we're all still here on Zoom. So we thought it would be nice to maybe twice a year just offer a networking meeting, a bit more social, if you like. Again, had we been doing this face to face, I think it would have been an opportunity just to come along and, you know, I don't know, a Danish pastry and a cup of coffee and move around the room and talk to different people and swap business cards and numbers and all the rest of it. So the kind of format that we are suggesting for February is that we will give over the floor to 12 businesses to have 5 minutes each. And you can come on and you'll take over the screen and you can talk to us about your business and tell you what the growth areas are, what your concerns are for the moment, what you're doing recruitment wise, and so on. And just so we can learn a bit more about each other and who the members are. So the first 12 that come to us will be the ones that get the slots in the first meetings. It will be strictly 5 minutes each. It is an opportunity for you to talk to us about your business, your organisation, your priorities. So everyone knows that that's what's on offer. And we're hoping to do that in February. And then if it's successful, we'll run it again later on in the year. So I hope that would help. As Will said, on the Maritime UK website, we plan to have a page where the people that are attending these meetings, if they choose to, can have the logo of their business, which we'll set up as a hyperlink. So people can come on and see who's in the network. And if they want to find out more about the business, they click on your logo and it will take them through to your website, which kind of deals with that whole GDPR and us sharing everybody's emails thing that we've been struggling with over the past couple of months. But we are keen. I know from the very first meeting, there was somebody put in the chat, you know, I don't know anyone else here and I need to know who you all are. And really, that's the purpose of networking, isn't it? So I don't know how you all feel about that and whether you'd be up for that and whether people would like to give us 5 minutes of their time to talk about themselves and their organisation and so on. But that's the plan for February. So so watch this space. Has anyone got any other questions or queries or comments or they'd like to add? James has put his hand up first. Hi, James.
Hi, Lorna. So it was just another quick update on the wider business support programs that those on the call might be interested in. So the first one is our peer-to-peer networks. So we are due to go live with the sessions starting in January. So I suppose it's a bit of a last call for those that may be interested. We do have a marine maritime cohort. I think there's probably a couple of additional spaces for those that may be interested in joining that cohort. It's totally free to attend, fully funded. We have trained expert facilitators in place, so it won't be delivered directly through the LEP. We've procured this facility. And there are additional spaces, so you may be interested to join a wider network. We probably have around 80 businesses currently engaged from all different sectors, different sizes, opportunity to engage, network, learn from others. So again, please do register your interest and get in contact with us for that. Just to mention, there will be, we're working with Innovate UK on a Southeast regional event. Again, it will be a virtual event that will be taking place on the 8th and 9th of March. We're influencing, as they're holding it, albeit virtually in the Solent, there will be some, day one will be around some sectoral days, some sectoral panels. So Marine Maritime will feature in that strongly, be free for people to attend. If anybody is interested in being a speaker, panelist or presentation or workshop, then again, please do get in touch. We will share sort of additional information, links to sort of agendas as we start to build pace on that. We'll share that through Will and Lorna, who can can share that wider. Thirdly, we're working on a piece of work with FSB around mental health and well-being for business owners, business leaders, and employees, due to go live in January. So we're just pulling that together at this point, but essentially we will fund provision where business owners, it's been a tough time, and it probably will continue to be a challenging time for people going into the new year. So we've made this service available. Again, we will push that out and promote that through Will. So as business owners and leaders, and if you have employees, please do utilize that offer. And then lastly, Lorna, if you don't mind, Peter on the call who spoke earlier, we actually worked with Peter around our business coaching and business mentoring program for businesses. Again, it's a free funded, government funded project, but if you wouldn't mind me just giving Peter 2 minutes just to sort of give a high level overview of what the support available to businesses is.
Yes, of course. Over to you, Peter.
Thanks so much, James, and lovely to be here, Lauren, again, as always. Thank you very much for your time. Yeah, as James mentioned, I've been working with James with Be The Business as my client. I'm based in the Bristol area, but I cover the southwest region, so the Solent area as well. I'm a matchmaker. I match senior executives in large companies such as BAE Systems. And I just linked a moment ago there, Andrew Shirt on the call here. He's an educationalist in BAE, so thank you for that one, basically, Andrew. But we've got BAE Systems and a number of other organizations like John Lewis Partnership and the Lloyds Bank, and they give us their senior people to go out and work with senior leaders and SMEs, mentees, basically, for the purpose of increasing the firm level productivity. So it's sector agnostic. As James says, again, it's a fully funded, free of charge program. There are no catches. The normal question I get asked is, hang on, Peter, how come this is so good to be too good to be true? Well, you paid your taxes 3 years ago with national insurance and corporation tax, so you have paid for it at some stage. So this has now come back to point of delivery is free of charge, and my time and money is paid for basically by the British government on this program. And it's all about increasing firm level productivity. You, the mentee, we'll ask you to give around 2 hours a month work with your mentor. You drive the agenda, you decide what you want to talk about. It might be leadership skills, it might be looking at other aspects of growing your business, it might be an exit strategy. You might think, I've got a couple of clients of mine who want to say, I want to finish my business in 2 or 3 years' time or 4 years' time. How do I get the exit strategy in shape to sell the business in 5 years' time or whatever? So really, you're driving the agenda. It's a 1-year program, 12 months, fully funded. And so I'm the matchmaker to give you a critical friend in your shoulder that will act as hopefully your pearls of wisdom and give you some of that benefit experience basically to really drive you forward. You may hit a plateau in your business, you may not have, you may just decide, I want a different perspective on how I'm doing my business. How well am I doing whatever? And that's what good mentoring is all about. A good mentor will listen. I know I'm talking in broadcast mode right now, but I'm also a mentor myself. So a good mentor will listen carefully and ask the right questions. And if you don't have a non-exec director on your board right now, you feel you're too small. No company is too small for non-exec director, I promise you. And this program gives you a bit of a flavor for what a non-exec might act in the type of role, again, on your business, and give you that steer at a strategic level, basically. So it's something to consider that. A number of my clients have done that for a year, and they'll come back to me and said, can you help me with a non-exec director? I really enjoy having somebody to sit down and challenge my ideas. And a good entrepreneur likes being challenged. And I will say that to any of my mentors again, and they will respect that and grin, normally smile back and go, keep talking, Peter, you've got my attention. So I'm the matchmaker. I'll give you a critical friend on your shoulder. The mentors enjoy it because they get CPD, continuous professional development. They love the fact they get new skills and sharpen their skills. And that's what it's all about. So I'll put a note on the chat at the moment. You go to James or to myself. We don't mind. James and myself talk at least once a week with the team. And we exchange information all the time basis. So anything you want to ask questions on there, I'm more than happy to help. I'm sure James is too. Thank you very much, Lorna. Thanks, James.
No problem. No problem. Anyone else got any other questions or comments or observations or anything they want to add?
Hi, Lorna. It's Gareth from Hampshire County Council. I was going to write something in the box to you, but I thought we might end the call before I managed to type it, so I thought I'd say anyway. Just on the business presentations, as part of the 5-minute pitch, I mean, if businesses were happy to tell everyone what their most pressing issue was at that moment in time, I think that would be useful, not only from the point of view of kind of sharing experiences, but also for some of the organisations on the call that might be holders of solutions for those things. So, you know, if it was a trade issue, then obviously Mark or one of his colleagues would be the right person to kind of talk to about that. So if that was, I mean, obviously it's a brave thing to do sometimes for those organisations, you know, understand that. So they might not want to do that, but I think it would be helpful, not least to, you know, try and find some solutions, but also I think for our own organisations to think about what solutions might be for some of those challenges.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think the strength of the network comes from knowing that what the shared expertise is really. So that I totally agree. I totally agree with you. Barry, you've asked a question about, I don't know if you want to say it out loud or you just want me to read it. Eva, do you want to say it? You're on mute, so I can't hear you, sorry.
Yeah, it's just what's the best contact info in relation to inquiring about being one of those 12 businesses in February?
Just raise it in the chat here, so you've done it, you're on the list, that's fine. I've had another couple already. I suspect these 12 places are going to go fairly quickly. I mean, if that works really well and it's really useful for all the members, we can do it a bit more frequently. But Will and I were talking about it last week, and it occurred to me that we might, had we been in different times, we might well have said, right, everyone come along and have a mince pie, and we'll just have an hour and a half getting to know each other. And because you can't do that in this sort of environment, I don't want to over formalize it by people going off into different rooms and having other, you know, conversations like a conference. I just thought it'd be really good for us to find out a bit more about the different businesses that we're sharing screen time with this way. So that's good. I'm glad you like the idea. We will do that in February. I've got you on the list, Barry. No problem. Right. Any other questions, anybody? I think we're in danger of actually finishing a meeting early, which happens so rarely, but what a treat. You've all just got 15 minutes back into your day that you didn't think you were going to get. So we've had five meetings. I think, just in summary, we've had some terrific speakers over the last 5 meetings. I hope you guys are finding it useful. The newsletter is going out to a subscription of 550 people now. I think we end up with 40 something people in each meeting, but it's not always the same 40, which is really cool. Ideas from you as to themes and subjects that you'd like us to cover, that we can bring speakers in, are always welcome. And I hope you all have a lovely Christmas, have a nice rest, and then we'll see you all in the new year. The next meeting will be on the 20th of January. The one other thing I haven't said, I'm just checking my list, should have checked it earlier. We've talked before about the Institute of Technology bid, which includes Maritime. That bid was submitted on Monday, on time. We won't hear until the spring as to whether or not we've been successful at stage 1. It's a highly competitive environment, but a really robust bid has gone in. Strong business partners, strong education partners. It would be the really terrific thing for the Solent. So that did hit the deadline on Monday at 12 o'clock. It all got quite frantic last week, but there you go. Okay. 'Tis the season for checking lists, Stu. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I write them all the time. I never get to the bottom of any of them. So I'll say goodbye for now. Happy Christmas. Hope you all have a lovely rest, and we'll see you in the new year. And thank you for your contributions.